If you're a full stack developer and you're thinking about transitioning into AI, I want to tell you something because I think there's a lot of misinformation out there and a lot of confusion about what an AI engineer is. In fact, I'm still confused by the title, and that was literally my title at the last company where I worked. The fastest path, in my opinion, to becoming an AI engineer, if you're a full stack developer, isn't a PhD, not a math book, not grinding through ML theory. It's learning how to build and ship real AI features and products the way fast paced startups do it. RAG, agents, fine tuning, and observability. Over the last year and a half, I've built and shipped AI products for two really fast paced startups, one of which was acquired. And I built everything from custom agents to RAG pipelines to deploying our own models from our data scientists. And what surprised me about a lot of this is that it's really accessible stuff. This is not rocket science, right? And if you're a full stack developer, you're basically 80% of the way there. If you can build web apps deployed to the cloud and you've done something with databases in the past and know some basic SQL or Mongo or whatever, you basically have a typical full stack skill set. Maybe you know TypeScript or Python, whatever. You're basically there. There's just a few things you need to add to your tool belt so you can ethically and realistically reposition yourself as an AI developer. I want to go over 6 practical things you can learn and one small project that you can build, as well as some resources in the show notes that are going to help you build this thing so you can make this transition in a real way. First off, I'm not going to debate what an AI engineer is. I'm sure some people already heard that title and got turned off like AI engineer. I'm an AI engineer. I have a data science degree and I'm a mathematician and I know statistics. That's great. But here's the thing. Market reality and reality aren't always in alignment, right? So I took on the term AI engineer because that's what I was called. And when we were hiring for other AI engineers, this is basically the stuff we were hiring for. These 6 different skill sets I'm going to outline for you. So what the skill stack actually tends to be is retrieval augmented generation, how to use agents or tools or some combination of them, fine tuning potentially, how to fine tune a model, observability and cost control. Basically, how many tokens are we using? Can we add some sort of caching layer? Can we have some observability into the way our prompts and our responses and requests are behaving within our chat application or our agent layer that we have? So, none of this involves inventing new models or knowing how to run regressions on large amounts of data. This is basically gluing together different APIs from AI powered services like OpenAI or Grok or Anthropic or Claude or Gemini or whatever flavor of large language model you want to use, and then using some specific data, often in what's called a vector database, which is fairly new and which we'll talk about in a second, which is going to help you actually gain the practical skills that you need to do this change. You basically need to know how to assemble, deploy, and scale an AI system that solves some real business use cases. This could be through something as simple as a chat app. I know it sounds hokey and corny. I built basically 2 glorified chat apps, and they're being used by real companies, one of which is one for record labels to find TikTok influencers, and the other one is for massive companies to find suppliers online that they wouldn't otherwise be able to find. Kind of cool and kind of boring use cases that have some real value that people are paying for. This is not about building the super cool thing or learning some crazy new technology. This is just learning a few core things that are going to help you build real stuff that companies value and might even pay you for. So the first thing that I've talked about extensively on this show and in general is retrieval augmented generation. This is like the beginner friendly superpower. This is something you can add to your tool belt right away. RAG is the first thing that every AI engineer should really learn first. It's the backbone of most of the production AI systems that you will interact with or read about online or that most companies are using. RAG is super simple. It basically means you have some data, usually some proprietary data, data that's not just out there on the web. And you can use this data and give to a large language model so it can construct a custom response. Think about this. Your company has internal documents. These documents should not be on ChatGPT, right? Maybe you have a diary. That shouldn't be on ChatGPT, right? But if you want to create a chat app that you can talk about maybe your mental health, or maybe your company wants to onboard people and let them talk to some sort of AI agent that can tell them, here's how you onboard and do all this stuff. You can't just have ChatGPT do that, but with RAG, you kind of could. You could store all your documents, your diary or your company's internal documents if you want to be boring, and you could put those all in what's called a vector database. Vector databases allow you to essentially search different documents by meaning, by semantic similarity. So you could write something like, what's our policy on days off during Christmas or something like that. Well, a vector database would turn those words, or you would turn those words into a series of numbers, vectors, and then it would use basically some linear algebra under the hood to search for vectors that are similar to that query. And it would return you the X number of vectors or documents that match that query. And then it would feed those same documents to a large language model to construct a response that makes sense and is relevant to what you just asked. This prevents hallucinations. It makes sure that you can use proprietary information. This is probably the most value you can possibly get if you're just starting to use AI and want to learn how to actually use it beyond just prompting. So I did this recently, actually. I'm a content creator and I've written thousands of articles and posts on LinkedIn. Don't cringe too hard. But anyway, I have a ton of information out there and I hate having to look for what did I say that one time back in 2020 about getting hired? Is that still relevant? How can I search all this up? So I stored all this stuff in a vector database. And that way I can find articles and posts that I've written. I can find them through semantic similarity. Type in something like, I want to know what I said about getting hired in 2020, or I want to know why TypeScript sucks. And I'll get the top 5 or 10 or 20 articles I've written about that subject. Then I can take the good ones and I can feed them into ChatGPT or something, say, hey, write an article using this tone that sounds kind of like me, using my personal experiences. This way I don't have to reinvent the wheel all the time. And I can actually have an AI tool like ChatGPT or Claude create something that sounds kind of like me. Next up is agents. Oh my God, everybody is in on these freaking agents. But really what agents are, it's just like a model with specific context. Context is one of these words that you'll hear again and again and again. Context is king. Context is just what information does this particular AI need at the time. And when I say AI, I basically just mean large language model. This is what most people mean nowadays when they say AI. It's kind of like become synonymous with LLM, large language model. So an agent is essentially just like a large language model that you might give some superpowers to. You might give it tools it can use, like maybe it can write to your file system. Maybe it can do a web search. Maybe it can have access to your database and go do a search in your database and you can control it and only let it do certain queries. It's basically like a little AI bot out there that can kind of run rampant, but you put guardrails and structured outputs and inputs around it so it doesn't do crazy stuff. This is it. You can think of it as automating a workflow. For example, in the app that I built to help find TikTok influencers, you might write something like, hey, I'm looking for influencers in Venezuela that cost $300 that also have red hair and do good with this type of music. So what we would do is extract that information from your query. We'd have one agent do that, extract the relevant information. We then feed it either to our database agent and say, well, this we could probably look in our database, or we would say, you know what, this is more of a RAG-based query. This requires a vector search, or maybe it requires a hybrid search. Or maybe you typed in something like, what's President Trump's favorite soda or something like that. We'd say, don't send this to any agent, just return that back to the user and say, I'm sorry, we're here to find TikTok influencers, not talk about the orange president. This is a bare bones, simple workflow, right? This is not rocket science again, but this can be a little bit hard to grok. So what I recommend is that you build a couple agents, think of them as functions. Each function can potentially call another function, and that function can return information to the previous function. You can read Anthropic's documentation on building agents and workflows and see kind of which flavor you want to do. I would avoid tool calling. Now, I know that's probably over your head at this point, but tool calling is essentially giving the agent just access to all sorts of tools, and it will decide what it's going to do. I don't like that pattern. I generally like to have it go, you're going to do this first, and this second, and this third, and maybe this and that. This is the routing pattern. I have an article on that with a small challenge you can use that will teach you in a hands-on way. Next up, fine-tuning. This is pretty much an overrated use case, but I think this is a good skill to add to your tool belt because it's nice to be able to talk about it. It just kind of makes it sound fancy. So you don't need fine tuning for most of the stuff you're going to use with large language models. Fine tuning is basically when you provide a set of training data in a very particular response, like it's like JSON, but it's like some funny looking JSON that you can write up. You can find all this on OpenAI's documentation, and you can get all this training data, essentially a set of prompts and responses, and you can train, quote unquote, the model to use this to inform how it interacts with a user. So maybe you have something like a consistent voice or a tone or some sort of unique spelling you want to achieve for some reason. Like you really want to be really granular with the types of responses you're getting back. This might be a good opportunity to fine tune. For me, for example, if I wanted AI to write in my voice and tone, potentially having RAG might not be enough. I might want to opt for fine tuning where I say, here's like 500 examples of how I talk. And then it can see from there and say, oh, you have these odd phrases you use. You have this kind of strange way of saying this, like, oh, that really boils my potato. That's a funny phrase that Brian often says when he's angry or something like that. And it could use that in responses. So maybe you want to make a spam filter or some sort of detection system for very, very particular things that are outside the training that ChatGPT has done. So if it's something really unique or niche, then fine tuning might make sense. It's really not that hard to do. But in general, I would have an opinion on this, but I would usually opt not to use fine tuning. And finally, the last piece, observability. This is really where real software engineering meets the AI hype. So you're going to want to be able to observe and monitor how your AI system is being used. This could mean the token cost because these things are not free, making sure people aren't abusing the system, making sure that the prompts and the responses you're generating actually make sense. Maybe somebody changed a prompt slightly and you're noticing that the responses are getting really, really weird or something like that. This is how you get insight into how people are using it and also what you're telling them or what your agent is telling them. Also, the data your agent is getting in, what it's outputting, the amount of tokens. Have your token costs skyrocketed? Have they not? This can just alert you to anomalies in your system. And your company's going to want to know this stuff because even if they don't know they need it, they absolutely need it. Super simple to set up. Use Helicone or Langsmith. These are the two tools I've used. Very simple to set up and give you a ton of insight and actionable data that you could use and then show to the higher ups to make sure things are kind of working the way you expect. Now, one thing we didn't really talk about was prompt engineering because that's kind of a skill all of us need nowadays. And this isn't just about that buzzword like, oh, prompt engineering, like poetry through typing into AI. No, that's nonsense, right? I mean, like, here are the core skills you need to know. Writing system prompts with constraints, understanding context windows, basically how much data can you shove into a large language model response before it just says that's too much stuff. How do you use structured outputs? You are typically used to using APIs that return you structured data. You can do the same thing with OpenAI or Grok or all these other large language model providers, but you need to understand how do you get structured outputs from them. They all support this out of the box. And I think you might want to be aware at least of a few different ways of doing things. There's all sorts of different parameters and configurations you can give to these large language models. You should understand a little bit about how they work so you're getting responses that are closer to what you want. Maybe you want a really random response if you're writing like content. Maybe you want a really non-random response when you're extracting things like the keys and values to construct a SQL query. And lastly, here's the project that I've done that I'm doing with students at Parsity that you could just do on your own. You don't have to go to Parsity at all. I'm going to do this with a handful of people. So I built an AI system that ingests content. Blogs, tweets, LinkedIn, all sorts of stuff. If you don't have content that you write, well, write some content or just find somebody else online, somebody not super well known, and take their content, train the data, copy and paste it, put it into some files, and then upload this into a vector database like Quadrant or Pinecone. This is the first step to building a RAG pipeline. If you want to automate this, that could be a really great next step. So maybe this person writes a lot and you want to keep ingesting this. Now, obviously use ethical guidelines and make sure you're doing things that aren't super weird or terrible online, but get some data, ideally from some sort of content creator or maybe even a lesser known novelist or something like that, something you can upload into a vector database. You're going to have to understand chunking, how to break up these documents, and then put them in there. And then maybe have your agent or set of agents decide how they can write in that voice. Maybe you can use fine tuning for this. Maybe you can use agents. Maybe use a combination. Maybe have a fine tuning agent and maybe have a RAG agent. So when a user requests something, you can determine, do I need to call my fine tuning agent or should I call my RAG agent or should I call a combination of them? Should I do a web search? Maybe you can have a web search agent. Maybe you can have an agent that is like the clarifier that's like, wait a second, I need to make sure this is actually something we can respond to. Build all this out and then add an observability layer to it. Add Helicone, add Langsmith, and then see what you're doing, change your prompts around, and see how it behaves based on the changes you've done. And once you build this, break it apart and rebuild it. And this time use something like LangGraph or use Vercel's AI SDK. Try to have some streaming on the front end so you have a nice looking chat app that uses some of the more modern ways we're used to looking at these things. Like we see streaming nowadays is just like an out of the box feature now for all these large language models. It's becoming kind of the standard way we interact with them. And this is what people expect. So see if you can stream stuff on the front end. See if you can use an AI agent framework like Crew AI or LangGraph or whatever, and then make your own decision. Is this something useful or would you use it again or not? The rules are being written right now. There is no clear winner on any of this stuff. So just experiment, have fun, and you're going to know a lot more than people that are reading white papers. Because here's the thing. This is applied software development with new tools. This is in high demand, especially in the San Francisco Bay Area. You can do your own research on this. I'm just living in it right now. I went through two startups and I've had more people asking me to interview than I ever have before. And I'll even have some proof in the show notes, a little image right there of all the people that contacted me in the last couple months just to come in for interviews. I haven't applied to any of these places. This is nuts. This is one of those really unique, interesting times where you don't need to know a lot to know a lot. So enjoy those resources I put out there, but remember, they're only good if you actually sit down and write the code and learn this stuff. If you want to go way deeper into this, go to parsity.io and you can grab more resources or check out the new cohort, which will be 30 days of building and shipping a real deal, functional, production grade AI powered app because I want you to be able to take advantage of this very unique moment. I promise you, this isn't all just hype, or even if it is, ride the hype train because it could be one of the best things you've done for your career as a software developer. Hope that's helpful. See you around.